Welcome to Beauty of Colors podcast. Krishni, it's great to have you on the show.
It's nice to be here.
So, Krishni, tell the listeners about you and why did you choose to be a writer?
So my name is Krishni. I'm currently 16 years old. I'm going to be a senior in high school. I lived in India for the first 10 years of my life, and I immigrated to the United States in 2017 when I was 10 years old. Um, and the main reason why I became a writer and wrote my very first book, which recently came out in June, called I'm Not Who You See, um, was because of some of the experiences that I endured during my first couple of years of being in the United States. Um, I was the only immigrant in my class when I first moved here in elementary school, and I faced a lot of ostracization and shame from my classmates and friends for how I spoke, my accent, for my optimistic and talkative nature, and from where I was from generally. And the main purpose as to why I wrote my book was so that was the purpose of me starting to write the book was for me to overcome my experiences. Because writing has always been a way that I process my emotions. And that's initially why I started writing my book. But over time, I also started to write it because I realized that things like isolation and shame, it's a very universal and common experience among people of different age groups. It can be in your workplace, in school, when you're an adolescent or even an adult. And I wanted my book to be a way, like when people read it, I want them to be able to relate and feel less alone with their struggles that might be similar to mine.
Wow. So, how did you come out of the devastating experiences of shame and isolation you face as an 11-year-old middle grader? You said that writing was one of the avenues that helped you, or was there something else that helped you get out of that shame and isolation?
So other than writing, another thing that helped me was I was fortunate enough to be able to move from my school to a new location after 2 years. I'm currently based in Austin, and being away from the place kind of helped me see the bigger picture more clearly, my experiences. Because when I was experiencing those things at 10 to 11 years old, I wasn't really able to process or understand why I was feeling so hurt by what my classmates were saying or what even was happening. But being able to move away from the situation and being able to see what happened and analyze what happened, looking back, reflecting on how being able to move away and being able to see clear helped me reflect back and see my experiences more clearly.
So, what are some of the support groups that young people like yourself, I'm in high school or I'm in middle school, coming, middle school, what are some of the support groups that young people who face mental health challenges can turn to?
I mean, one support group can just be family or friends or anyone you trust around you. Another one I would suggest is a movement that I started back in 2022. I founded my student-led movement Detoximind when I was when I was a sophomore in high school. And the main purpose was for Detoximind to start was so that I could create a sense of community for people who've gone through similar experiences as me or anyone who's going through any sort of shame, depression, stress. So I would suggest my Detoximind as a good place to find a support group for people who are struggling.
So, when you were going through that struggle, did you get support from a psychiatrist? Did you get support from your family? Did you get support from friends?
It took me about 3 years after what happened to open up to my parents about to even process what I went through, but to even being able to talk about it comfortably. I mainly depended on my parents throughout the experience. They helped me, they spoke to me a lot about it. I was able to process my emotions more by getting it out, and they were overall very supportive. they would listen to me and give me advice on what to do in the future if anything similar were to happen, and they helped me process my feelings.
So did you have those same shame and isolation in India, or did that happen when you moved here to the US?
It was only in the US and India. I had very supportive friends. I had my family near me. When I moved to the US, I was pretty much alone because I didn't know anyone. The culture was very new. So it was a very unfamiliar environment.
Mhm.
So my life from India was a lot different from the United States.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about your book. Where can the listeners get in touch with you? Where can they get a copy of your book? And what is the genre, your book genre? Who are you targeting?
So in terms of finding my book, you can find my book, I Am Not Who You See, on Amazon. And in terms of contacting me, listeners can either contact me on LinkedIn at Krishni Khanna or on Instagram at Krishni Khanna. And my book is for anyone who's going through isolation or shame and just wants to find either a hope story or find some sort of comfort in not being alone in their struggles. I don't have a specific age range for my book.
So why did you call your book I am not what you see? Why did you choose that name?
I chose the name I'm Not Who You See because so the book is inspired from my experiences. It's a fiction book about a protagonist named Veda who immigrated from India to the United States and faced a lot of shame and beration for who she was. And I'm Not Who You See is more a tagline that's more targeted towards the classmates and the quote unquote friends who I had who judged me because the way they saw me was not who I actually was, because they always mocked, Veda's accent, also my accent in real life,
Mhm.
and who I was in general. So the reason the book's name is I'm Not Who You See is because um the classmates or the people berating me and the protagonist Veda, they did not see who she actually was as a person. They just saw her from what, the minor information that they had, that she's an immigrant from India and that she's an outsider and she's different from us.
Okay. So you said it's a fiction. So is it some of that fiction? Is it some of your life in there, and you just the protagonist? You just kind of switch it around, and you kind of include some of your experiences that you went through and stuff like that.
So it's a fiction because Veda's experiences are inspired from my own. So yes, some of the experiences in the books are derived and
Mhm.
similar to my real life experiences, but they're not exactly the same.
Okay, okay, sounds good. Okay. So you said the book is for anyone who anyone can pick up the book and they can learn a lot from your book.
Yeah, the book is for anyone who has experienced anything similar to what I have, um, or anyone who just wants a good book to read.
Okay. So the book is based like the book is based in the US, or do you have it both in India and the US?
It's currently only available on Amazon in the United States as of now. We are
Mhm.
planning to, I do want the book to be available on Amazon globally soon, but as of now, it's only in the United States.
Okay. So do you have any last words for the youth on overcoming isolation and loving themselves?
My only message would be that it takes a long time. Um, it can take a long time to digest and process your experiences. Don't rush yourself. I mean, even after 6 years, even after I've written this book and I've done a lot relating to my experiences to overcome it, a lot of the negative habits and unhealthy behaviors that I picked up because of my classmates berating words, they still linger with me even after almost 6 to 7 years. Um,
Mhm.
I am still better from how I was initially while experiencing it. So healing and processing your emotions takes a very long time, and it's a lot easier said than done. But my main advice to taking your first step to overcoming any sort of trauma or negative experience that you have is to somehow have an outlet. I mean, I know a lot of people don't feel comfortable talking to other people. I'm also like that. So even if you have to journal or talk to someone you trust, it's very important to at least let it out so you can process your emotions, because processing your emotions and how you feel towards an experience, a negative experience that you've had, is an important first step to healing and overcoming that experience.
So how do you do that? How do you overcome it? Do you overcome it with positivity? Is it because you say positive things to yourself that you overcome this the shame and isolation, or you overcome what the bullies at your school has said to you?
I mean, in my experience, the first thing I had to do was to step away from the situation to fully grasp what happened and process my emotions.
Mhm.
Another thing that I did since I moved, I was able to find a better and healthier community. I was able to depend on my parents. I was fortunate enough to find better friends,
Mhm.
friends who loved and supported me as I am, and they didn't shame me or berate me or make me feel like I had to hide myself. So I think just being around people who supported me was enough for me to feel better about myself and gain some of my confidence back in what the kind of person I was.
Wow, what an amazing story. Well, thank you so much for being on Beauty of Colors podcast. Do you have a website also with your books, or is it just on Amazon?
The book is on Amazon. You can also contact me on my website at krishnikhanna.com if you would like to reach out to me in general or if you would like to buy my book.
Okay. Well, thank you, Krishni, for being
Thank
on Beauty of Colors podcast.
you for having me.
You're very welcome.